Hello there. In this video, we will demonstrate how to establish screen startup at the start of the application within DockShell. So within DockShell, we have, in our scenario that we're looking at today, we have a very simple LightSwitch application with a number of LightSwitch screens. We have this model, the DockShell model, that is illustrating the various screens that we have. So we have a categories list detail that sits on the tasks navigation group, customer list detail, and editable employees grid are the three screens that we're focusing today. And in our model, we actually have the editable screen as a modal screen, and the other two as standard docking controls. So if you haven't, if you're not familiar with this this model, you might want to take a look at some of the other videos that we have on our website that help explain how this model lays out your LightSwitch application. So let's run this and we'll see what the default behavior is before we add the functionality to open and close a screen, open a screen at startup. So we'll just start the application, and once up, we'll take a look at the default behavior. All right, so as you can see, when the application starts up, we don't have any screens opening at startup. So the user initiates the load of each screen by selecting each one of the navigation buttons at the top. And as you can see, employees is modeled as a modal screen. All right, so let's close this down, and we'll close this down. And what we're going to do is add the code that will allow us to kind of open up the screen. So the way this is done is you identify the screen within the navigation group that you want to launch at startup. And so as mentioned, we have this tasks, which is really the default navigation group that you'll get when you build any LightSwitch application. So this navigation group has these three screens. So what we're going to do for starters is we'll just we'll load up the categories list detail screen and make it the first one at startup. So what we need to do is just go to our Solution Explorer, and what you do is in the client application. So right now we're looking at the files view for the LightSwitch application, and we've created a number of models, a number of solution folders within our client folder. One of them is a DockShell solution folder, and inside there we have our model, which is what we're looking at here. And then we have this application initialization folder. And if we were to drill into this, you can see that what we've done is we've added a partial class called application initialization extension. And this partial class is actually created for us when we save our model. It's actually created in the inside of your code-generated C# or VB.NET class. And if you look down, you'll see that there is the actual code-generated implementation of it, and it has no overrides on it. And so this is your ability to go in and add additional overrides as needed. And so what we want to do is we want to create an on-initialized override. So we just type the word override and then initialized. So basically, this will, once DockShell has kind of loaded in the model and it's spun up the sort of the definition, your model definition, and turn that into a running application, it will call through this to kind of finalize the last, or allow you to sort of override any other, provide any other additional functionality. And so in this case here, what we want to do is we want to take advantage of this DockShell service proxy that's passed into us. And you can get a hold of the DockShell service proxy in a number of ways. So because it's passed into this method, what we're going to do is we're just going to take advantage of it here. But you could actually, you could have done it also this way. So if you type application .current, you should be able to get a hold of the same instance. And that's because that's also code generated for us in that code behind file within the transform C# file that you generate. So with the DockShell service proxy in hand, the next thing we want to do is get a hold of the navigation control configuration service. And this has a lot of underlying goodness to it. But one of the things that we can dial in on initialization through this method, the screens to open on content container loaded method, is the ability to kind of specify a series of screens, one or more screens associated to one or more navigation groups that we would like to automatically open at the start of the application. So in this case here, we have that navigation group is called tasks. So, and that's coming from, again, if we go back to our model, that's this navigation group. It's your LightSwitch navigation group called tasks. So that's the navigation group. And then the screen that we would like to open up. You can see this is an array collection of strings. So, oops, what we want to do is basically just put in the name of the screen. So I think it was categories, gories, make sure I spell this right, list detail, I think is what it is. I'll just double check that. I gotta make sure we're doing the same thing. Yep. Okay, so there we go. So that's it. And let's hit run now and see what happens at startup. So you can see the application starts up, and you'll notice here that the category list detail comes in shortly after startup. So it's all ready to go. It's as if the user pressed the navigation buttons for category list detail. Okay, that's cool. So let's see if we can open up two screens at startup. And all we need to do that is extend this screen list name. So once again, these are the LightSwitch screen names that you're putting in here, and the LightSwitch navigation groups that you would be putting in here. So we'll just pull this down so we can see it a little better. Okay, so there's your navigation group, and now we're saying open up categories and customer list detail at the start of the application. So we'll run that and see what that looks like. Okay, so we've started the application. As you can see, customer list details is coming in. Sorry, categories, followed by customer list details. So there you go. So there's the ability to launch or bring in two screens at startup. And we can also pull in that modal screen if we wanted to, although it's probably not a practical example, but let's take a look at how that might work. And as you recall, I believe that one was editable employees grid, so we'll just run that, see what that looks like. Okay, so as it loads up, the categories list detail loads first, followed by the customer list detail. And as you can see, the third screen is coming up, which is the modal view of the employees editable list grid. And it's closable and editable and all that good stuff. So that's basically how you can control how to open up screens for your navigation groups within DockShell. The couple of things to point out about this implementation is that ensure that when you build your partial class that you do include it within the namespace LightSwitch application. So when you're building, anytime you're building partial classes, the namespace must match the namespace of the partial class that you're creating. So in this case here, because the base implementation or the partial class for the application initialization extension is code generated for us within our code behind, within our code generated file from our module. It sits within the namespace LightSwitch application. And so you will see in further videos that this potentially can change. So it's important to understand the relationship of partial classes, and in this scenario here, as long as this namespace matches your code-generated LightSwitch C# or VB.NET classes file, then when you create this partial class, you will get it will work just fine. Now, interestingly enough, if you were to maybe add something like this, you wouldn't actually get an override, so that would be probably your first clue that it's not doing what you want it to do. So, all right, so hopefully that's answered the question, and Thank you very much.